A witness who had followed him confronted him about the dead dog tied to the back of his car. 18-year-old Casey Williams walked into Thompson High School this morning with a loaded handgun. One woman is dead after an early morning fire. The details coming up. She's charged with the murder of 5-week-old Sydney Lewis. While the Hollow Creek Fire Department has been working tirelessly to remove some of this rubble that you see behind me going through Georgia, they have to get a permit by the Georgia Department of Transportation. After everything that he's seen, it was definitely a tornado that touched down. Over a week after tragedy struck in the Holy City, people are still coming from all over the nation. A deadly drive-by shooting in Aiken County, what investigators are saying, and we have breaking information about the identity of the man who investigators say put all Columbia County schools on lockdown. You can tell today that he touched so many lives, especially by the thousands of people that were lined up on the street waiting to get into his funeral. Reporting at the Masters, Margaret-Ann Carter, WJBF News Channel 6. Chief Deputy Todd Dent confirmed Sheriff Mark Richards is currently on paid medical leave and in the hospital. Sheriff Richards has been off the job since Saturday while Dent has taken over the sheriff's responsibilities. Longtime residents say they feel like they've been left in the dark and feel like they have a right to know where their sheriff is and who's running their county. Crawfordville residents describe their town as a tight-knit community, one that acts like a family. When they elected Sheriff Mark Richards 14 years ago, they expected the Tolliver Sheriff's Office to be honest and forthcoming. But some say lately that's not the case.
Upsetting because I would like to know who our sheriff is and who's going to support our community.
Crawfordville native Sandra Smith says the sheriff's office didn't tell anyone the sheriff was in the hospital and that they had a new acting sheriff.
Just very upset because this community, we're always doing stuff together, you know, making decisions together. And this wasn't a decision made together. It was made by one person and that was it.
Smith says officials have been tight-lipped about Richards' visit to the hospital, which has led to a lot of speculation. Dent did not want to go on camera, but he told us over the phone that he didn't feel like he needed to make the community aware of Richards' absence or the reason why. Does it concern you at all that you weren't made aware of it until it came on the news?
Somewhat. I think that any elected officials kind of owes the people who elected him some report when things are affecting the performance of the job.
Crawfordville Mayor Herman Milner says he feels like there is a definite lack of communication, but he has faith in local law enforcement to right any wrongs that may have been done.
Well, I believe law enforcement in the community is in good hands. I have known Todd Dent for the entire time I have been mayor, and I have had nothing but favorable impressions of his behavior and his actions.
There is no word on when Sheriff Mark Richards will return to his duties, but we'll continue to keep you updated with any new information as it comes in. Back to you, Brad. Richmond Summit Apartments is a Section 8 housing development. It caters to low-income, elderly, and disabled residents. For weeks, people inside were left with no elevator access and no answers as to when it would be fixed until Tuesday.
They only bring pieces and parts. They don't fix the whole thing.
Keith Davis says it's just a matter of time before the elevator breaks again. This is a problem that residents say happens every summer because of the heat.
This is nothing new. Management and corporate has nothing to do. They did all they could do. They can't themselves go fix it. I think the corporate in the problem is the elevator people. They the one took so long to get the parts.
Charles Womble says management has done all they can to help, but Davis disagrees.
Come down to here and speak to the tenants. No, not with the management or with the maintenance or nobody else. Just the tenants. Let's get the real story of what's going on.
While we were down there, residents got a letter from the property manager. The letter says there will be a meeting next week. If residents don't come, their names will be turned over to the police department.
What for? There ain't no crime going to me.
And we spoke with someone with the Richmond County Sheriff's Department who says there is a meeting next week, but it is not mandatory according to them. The Sheriff's Office will just be there to answer any questions they may have. It was a bittersweet day for people here in Charleston. Bitter, laying to rest such an influential and inspiring person, but sweet knowing that Senator Pinckney touched so many lives and that so many people came together for this one event. Thousands of locals and visitors lined the streets in downtown Charleston in hopes of getting inside Senator Clementa Pinckney's funeral. Among the crowd was Reverend Jesse Jackson.
I think the president took us to another level of grace, and there was more joy than pain. But now the inspiration must turn into changing people's life.
The Reverend expressed his concerns for lax gun laws.
There's too much access to guns. In other words, embrace Reverend Pinckney's agenda, not just as a marcher, not just as a martyr. He wanted to make us have less guns.
He says the streets are no place for semi-automatic guns.
We've become too violent. We must learn to be more civilized, more peace-loving, and go another way.
Local Augusta Reverend Larry Fryer attended the service.
It was a feeling of unity, peace, cooperation, spirit of courage, forgiveness, and a better working relationship.
Forgiveness, the theme surrounding the Charleston church shooting.
It was not a sad service, it was an inspiring and uplifting service, as what it should have been in light of what had happened.
And I spoke with people as they came out of the service, and they said the two words that they would use to describe this was empowering and inspiring. Reporting in Charleston, Margaret-Ann Carter, WJBF News Channel 6. 21-year-old Tequila Jones is now in the custody of the Wilkes County Sheriff's Office. She's charged with the murder of 5-week-old Sydney Lewis, her boyfriend's baby.
I want answers. You know, why did XYZ happen? You know, why did you do what you did?
A family, while mourning the loss of a newborn child, has finally received closure. Kelly Lewis spoke with me candidly about losing her niece's baby and then finding out it wasn't an accident.
Anger. Lots and lots and lots of anger.
Lewis says her niece, Kristen Lewis, dropped her baby Sydney off at the father's house on Sunday. 24 hours later, the baby was unresponsive.
My sister came to wake me up a little after 12 o'clock saying that Sydney was in the hospital. We didn't quite know what was going on at that time. And once we got to the hospital, we found out that she had a head injury. We don't know why. We didn't know who caused it at that time.
Lewis says Kristen called her from the hospital and told her Sydney had a brain injury.
It was like a big knot on her head and maybe looked like bruising under her eyes.
On Thursday, investigators arrested the father's girlfriend, Tequila Jones, charging her with the child's murder.
You entrust someone to keep your baby, you entrust a parent to keep a baby, and you trust the fact that they will never give your baby to someone that will put it in harm's way.
Lewis says she's glad someone is in custody and she hopes justice will be served. But she still has one last question.
Anybody with a conscience, why would you harm an innocent baby?
We ran into the biological father, Michael Wiley, who didn't want to speak with us and refused to be on camera at all. Reporting in Wilkes County, Margaret-Ann Carter, WJBF News Channel 6.